Hi, and welcome to Astro Bites for Tuesday, the 24th of September, 2024. So here we go with the astrology for today, followed by another interesting word, which was one again suggested by one of your lovely selves. So stick around for that. That's in the second half of the video. But first, let's have a look at the astrology for today, because we have a really interesting and lovely trine aspect from Mercury, our planet of communication, in Virgo, and Mercury is trining Uranus retrograde in Taurus. Surprising news, surprising news that you feel quite happy about, surprising good news. Let's have a think about this, and I'll have a look at where it is on our event chart to see if that gives me a clue. So the day starts out a little bit, we might be feeling a little bit still a bit confused, just not quite clear about the direction that we're going in, what we want to achieve, because Neptune is on the ascendant. So Neptune is kind of just clouding our vision a bit when we first start the day. And Saturn, that isn't really making any particular aspects at the moment, apart from its wide square still to Jupiter in Gemini. Saturn retrograde in Pisces is in the 12th house, and so there's a little bit of restriction going on with this energy today. Now, then if we move round the chart, the moon is in Cancer now. So it's back in its home sign. And so the moon is very comfortable. So it may be a day when we really feel we just want to spend a little bit of time at home, maybe alone. A bit of alone time to do our thing, do our stuff, whatever that might be, tidy up, get in touch with some family members that we haven't spoken to for a while. So that energy is also around. And it could be that it would be a very good day to connect with, well, yeah, nearest and dearest, brothers, sisters, loved ones, partners, because it might be that this energy will help you clear up or tidy up anything that has been unfolding in your life that within the area of relationships that's been a little bit sticky, a little bit stuck, just a little bit difficult. So heavy going, like walking through treacle. So let's now look at the fact that Mercury is trining Uranus. Well, I think the first thought that's come into my mind, because of its position in the chart, and Taurus is the second house, and actually the second house of the chart is Taurus in this chart, is that we get some good news to do with finance. It may be just on a personal level. It may be that the markets in general, or the general world economy feels a little bit more relaxed, that we see some good results coming out, maybe because there are movements or solutions looking more promising with some of the danger areas, so that we're just being brought back a little bit from the brink, which has been a little bit tight and difficult and worrying, quite frankly. So I think Uranus brings surprising news. We might all receive some kind of news that is unexpected, and it can be in some ways also that I think makes us feel quite happy, quite excited, and that we've got something to say, and that we want to connect with friends and say, hey, guess what? Guess what I heard today? Guess what happened? So the other energy we've got is with the moon in Cancer, is trining Venus that has now moved into Scorpio. So Venus, of course, is now opposite the sign it rules, which is Taurus. Venus in Scorpio is what we would say is in its fall. It's not particularly comfortable in Scorpio. A Venus, like the word I used yesterday, has integrity. Venus is the divine feminine. Scorpio is about the muddy depths, the shadow. It's much more Lilith's domain, which I would say is the shadow side of the divine feminine, than Venus in Scorpio. But it is the moon, and it is a trine from the moon. So what it's telling me is that in a situation which could be to do with relationships that has been challenging, to sort of put it mildly, all is not lost. There is light at the end of the tunnel. There is hope beyond where you are moving to. So it actually feels quite positive. Now let's move on to our word for the day. Because, you know, that astrological energy, I'm personally quite happy about it. I think that feels quite good. So let's have a look. The word of the day, this again has been suggested by one of you lovely viewers, emancipation. I thought, whoa, well, we've got to have this. This was the suffragettes when they fought for freedom and the right to vote and took their bras off and burnt them and did all manner of kind of dangerous things to get attention and to make it very clear that they demanded freedom. And that's exactly what emancipation means. It's the process of being freed. Freed from restraint and control and oppression. So it's about gaining independence, liberation. It's the removal of restrictions. And it's used mainly in a social context or political or a legal context. And, you know, the research I did, of course, it brought up and underlined the fact that it was very much about the Emancipation Proclamation, which was, of course, in the United States, which freed enslaved people during the Civil War. So, you know, historically, emancipation is very much associated with liberation and freedom. It's about liberation. And, you know, if you think about it worldwide at the moment and the way democracy has, well, to be quite honest, become a little bit of a joke. What freedom do we have? Do we really have emancipation? Because, you know, for instance, platforms like this that I'm streaming, putting a video on, you know, there are restrictions. There are things I'm not allowed to talk about. I can understand on one level that they have to put protective kind of boundaries up to protect innocence, let's say innocence, and people that, you know, children, etc., and people that are easily, easily influenced into doing something which would not be conducive to their well-being. But it's, you know, it makes you wonder how much autonomy we actually have as a society in general, around the world, around the planet. Do we have self-determination? You know, this is Pluto's move into Aquarius. Pluto's move into Aquarius, I think over the next 20 years, we are really going to experience the freedom and emancipation of the human race and the ability to be self-determined, the space and the freedom to do that. Let's have a look at some of the quotes. They're obviously going to be quite politically based, and I guess we have to quote Abraham Lincoln from the Emancipation Proclamation, where he said, "In giving freedom to the slave, we assure freedom to the free, honorable alike in what we give and what we preserve." And it's interesting because through the idea of emancipation for enslaved peoples, it didn't only grant them freedom, but it upholds the word we had yesterday, the moral integrity of a free society. And somehow that's become, I think, a little less prevalent, less available to us. Nelson Mandela said, "For to be free is not merely to cast off one's chains, but to live in a way that respects and enhances the freedom of others." You know, oops, nearly knocking the table over. With regard to any political party election, shouldn't it be the candidate that promises freedom from enslavement, mind control, emancipation, dignity, integrity? Shouldn't it be those qualities that we all need to look at wherever we are on the planet and whichever government we are voting in? That those are the qualities we should look for in our leaders. Mahatma Gandhi said, "The moment the slave resolves that he will no longer be a slave, his fetters fall." Because freedom and slavery are mental states, and it's so true, isn't it? It's the inner resolve that leads to emancipation. The first step towards emancipation or freedom begins up here. We can decide to be free. And often, the only jailer we have is ourself. COVID, with the lockdown around the planet, fed into the fears of people to remain reclusive and to stay fearful of the external world and to become their own jailer. I can aspire to this or adhere to this through the 6 months I've been recovering from my back surgery, because the word that was used with me quite recently, somebody said, "Well, you've become institutionalized." And actually that's exactly what had happened. Because it was difficult for me to go out, I couldn't go out without asking someone to help me go out. I couldn't actually go out on my own because I needed help. I became maybe beyond the time I needed to be a prisoner in my own home. I became my own jailer. And something flipped in my mind only last week. I said, I've got to get my car started. And absolutely like a rocket, I decided. I got someone to help me start it because the battery was dead. And I drove it, and I drove to a local shopping centre. And my God, did I have fun. Because I set myself free and discovered I could do it. So have a think today about where you make yourself prisoners in your own lives, relationships, and homes. And emancipate yourself. Set yourself free. You are the jailer. Get the key, unlock the door, and leave. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll tell you what, I'll be back tomorrow with yet another Astro Bite. Bye for now.